Hey, True Believers, England Teen here with another episode of Comic Books Were Better. We know that we are in another dark period for comic books, so I'd like to look back and talk about how comic books were better, and in this case, as the title says, we're going to be looking at 10 reasons that comic books were better in the 1950s. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you, if you like the video, please click like and share it around to help out the channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that notification bell and make sure those YouTube notifications are on. If you don't mind helping out the channel and by supporting it, go on over to Patreon or to Ko-Fi. You could even commission a video on Ko-Fi. Links in the description below using any of the categories of videos I do on this channel. Now, without further ado, let's get this party started. At number 10... Fighting American, another Simon & Kirby patriotic hero, but this one was created out of anger, ladies and gentlemen. You see, Atlas, which is the new name for Timely, which will become Marvel, decided they were going to publish Captain America again. Well, the duo didn't like that, so they created Fighting American. However, at the time, McCarthyism was big, so they decided the bad guys would be communists. Nelson Flagg is the brother of Johnny. He was a war hero who got killed by a dirty commie. So Nelson joins Project Fighting American, and boom. Now the first story, first issue, it's flat out serious. But then after a while, or actually in the second issue, they decided to make it almost like a parody of the superhero, taking a look at it that way. Looking at all the tropes that were going on and just basically what was happening in the day and making fun of it using a patriotic superhero. It's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend you search out these original issues and the miniseries that came out in the last few years. Number 9. Casper, the friendly ghost, the friendliest ghost you know. Yeah, I know. I'm a 50-year-old guy, and I put Casper on a top 10 best list. Yep, and I would do it again. Now, originally I was going to put Harvey Comics as a whole, but it turns out that their biggest title was 1960, so we may be seeing that in a future list. But Harvey Comics on a whole, yeah, all of them. In the 1950s, you had Baby Huey, you had Little Lulu, and many others. But Casper was just a lot of fun. It was one of my favorite comics. It was one of my favorite comics, cartoons when I was a kid. Usually these books are just simple. They'll have a one-page joke or a two-page story. Sometimes they went a bit longer, but not often. And you could read them even still today. It's just, it's so easy. It's just such a breeze to read. And for someone like me, it's a bit of a nostalgia factor. I understand. I probably won't be getting any new readers interested in Casper, but I do have to show respect. Got to show respect for the childhood. Number 8. Supergirl, created by Ali Adler and Greg Berlanti. Just joking. Created by Otto Binder and Al Plastino. Of course, to be a female counterpart to Superman, got to bring in those girl readers. You know how it is back then. She first appeared in Action Comics 252. However, not a lot of people know this one. There was a Supergirl in Superman 123. Yeah, Jimmy Olsen used a little magic to create a Supergirl. He kind of wished her into existence here, and that was kind of a test run. Okay, I'm going to tell you about 2 pieces of misogyny dealing with Supergirl. 1, I added her subsequent issues, but unfortunately she actually doesn't appear on the cover, so oops on me. And 2, back in the day, Kryptonians, the males, got the house name, so it's Kal-El. But Kara was just Kara because they weren't identified by the house names. So there you go, gang. DC Comics, keeping misogyny alive until 1992. I'm just kidding. Anyway, on to number 7. Number 7, just like I said before. See, okay, see, I'm consistent. Before I talk about Sergeant Rock, I think we need to talk about GI Combat number 68. This is one of those characters that have a little bit of controversy surrounding when his first appearance is. Is it GI Combat number 68? There's a character named The Rock, but his rank isn't given. Maybe it's Corporal Rock, because this is definitely a prototype to Sergeant Rock. Now, they're uncredited, but I do believe this is Joe Kubert as well, so you're still getting a great war story, very well drawn, by the way. I'm very happy to have gotten a commissioned video for Haunted Tank from FRAGMINION, the sponsor of this channel, because that's kind of opened me up to more of these Silver Age war stories. And of course, I got to check out Joe Kubert's work. And Sergeant Rock is awesome. I'm very much a fan of it now. Haunted Tank didn't do a lot of views, or I'd be all over Sergeant Rock. Well, maybe still. I don't know. Anyway, if you get a chance, pick up Our Army at War. You're going to have a lot of fun with it, or any Joe Kubert book. Doesn't matter, modern day or modernish day, or Silver Age. You're going to love it. Definitely check out The Rock, or Sergeant Rock. Number 6, Tarak Sun of Stone from Dell Comics. And let me tell you something. I love Dell covers from the Silver Age. Look at these things. They're gorgeous, man. This is poster quality right here. They are amazing covers. It's one of the reasons why I like it, but the interiors are good as well. So are the stories. Now, it was first drawn by Rex Mason. The writing credit is a little bit more up in the air. I've always liked the name Gaylord Dubois, by the way, so I'm going to throw that one out. And a guy named Paul Newman drew the comics, but it's not that Paul Newman. Anyway, the story goes, Tarak is an Indian, and he finds himself in an isolated land that's inhabited by dinosaurs. Most of the stories, I got to admit, were kind of monster of the week, but that's not bad. As a matter of fact, we're going to hear more about that in just a little bit. But it also had to deal with him and Andar trying to escape the valley and get back to the real world. They're really good adventure stories. Sure, there's some Silver Age silliness to it. That's just going to happen in the Silver Age. But overall, they're a lot of fun, great adventure stories. If you have a little kid, if you have a little boy especially, you should read these stories to him. He's going to love them. Number 5, Tales to Astonish, Monster of the Weekend. Cheesy as hell. Seriously, this is a lot of fun. I really do enjoy this book. Now, this is pre-superhero Marvel. Yeah. And this is one of the great things about Tales to Astonish. It came out in 1959, so basically I could use it for the 60s as well when it comes down to talking about that decade. Anywho, if you haven't read these, they are, like I said, tons of fun. Sometimes Jack Kirby did the art for them. They're really great. And the Monsters of the Week, hey, you had Magneto. Not the Magneto from the X-Men, but there was a monster called Magneto. Of course, Groot makes his first appearance, not looking anything like Groot that you're used to. But overall, it's one of the only things I could put on the list from Marvel Comics. Give it a shot. If you can find these old issues, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. I know I'm not. Number 4, Marvel Man. So this is from the UK. They were reprinting Captain Marvel comics, and then of course the whole DC Fawcett thing happened with the lawsuit, so they had to stop, and they created Marvel Man and basically just rewrote the Captain Marvel stories. You can even tell some of these covers are very derivative of Captain Marvel covers. And you know what? They're in public domain, so you could do that right now, as a matter of fact. Great stories, a lot of fun, absolutely derivative of Captain Marvel, so check it out. I will be honest that I discovered the English version of Marvel Man, this version anyway is what I'm talking about, after I read the Alan Moore version. I recommend, if you haven't checked either one of them out, to read them. They're very entertaining. The Alan Moore version, of course, goes a little bit more in depth and is far more serious, because this is tons of Silver Age silliness, Golden Age silliness. Okay, before I talk about number 3, I have to tell you, don't judge me. Do not judge me, because you know I love Disney stuff, and this is Walt Disney's Donald Duck. Yeah, I'm a huge Donald Duck cartoon. I like the Disney comics. I like them today, as a matter of fact. The thing that brings me back as far as these comics are concerned is that I used to find them in thrift stores. This is another bit of nostalgia, like the Harvey comics, except for I still read Walt Disney Comics Presents and all that kind of stuff that's being produced by IDW. Here, though, they were in thrift stores and bookstores, at flea markets. You could always find these cartoon comics. Nobody respected these as much as they did the superhero comics. And I would find them for 10 cents, 5 cents, just pick up all I can. And I loved it. I really did. Dell were the ones I found the most of, in all honesty. I remember some of these covers as they passed by, and I enjoyed all of the stories. And it just carried through. I used to pick up the Gladstone reprints and everything, but if you could ever get your hands on these, definitely do. You're going to enjoy them. Number 2. Okay. Remember how I said don't judge me for number 3? I'm going to ask you again because I had a choice to make, and what it turned out to be is one of these are incredibly important to comic book history, and the other one is the better title in the 1950s. So I had to figure out where to put which one, and this is how I chose it. You're going to disagree. Some of you are. Some of you are going to agree. But here is my number 2 choice of why comic books were better in the 1950s. The Flash. Okay, I know. Historically, this should be number 1 because writer Robert Kanigher and Carmine Infantino, who did the penciling, the art, they recreated the superhero genre. And that's partly why this deserves a spot on the greatest comic books of all time anyway, for anything. Because they were looking for something to really spark up some business. DC Comics, actually, all comic books were flailing around because they just got hit, the Frederick Wortham thing with the comic book code. The comic books were no longer subversive. They were very much aimed at kids. And Infantino said, well, you know what? Let's try to revive it, except for instead of doing the old-style Flash, boom, Barry Allen kind of updated it because he goes, you know what hard water is? It's ice. So, let's not do that old origin story. And boom, off they went. Now, granted, some of the stories are still childish and like I use the term all the time, Silver Age silliness, but it's tons of fun. And if you haven't checked out these older books, try to get those Showcase Presents, actually. You get 20 or 30 of them in one book, and it's absolutely worth it. And this leads us to the number 1 reason comic books were better in the 1950s. And I know you're like, dude, The Flash restarted the superhero genre. It saved the superhero genre. Without The Flash, we may have never gotten the Marvel Universe. What could have possibly been better in the 1950s than The Flash? And in all honesty, there was one comic book title that shined above all in the 1950s. And I mean, it was the perfect era for this comic book. And that was Archie. In all honesty, yeah, this was created before the 1950s, I understand, but this is the time when Archie shined. Think about everything you know and love about the Archie comics. The best things about it were the 50s. It really does fit. The small town, the soda shop, the romance, the sexless romances that were going on. Everything really just fits that sense of humor. This is like Happy Days before Happy Days, you know? I mean, I'm a 70s kid that would go into those thrift shops I'm telling you about. I'd find loads of these, laugh my ass off at the Archie comics. Even didn't understand some because they were dealing with teenage stuff and I was just a little kid. But overall, just had a lot of fun. Now, I love the stuff that's being done now. I think actually Mark Waid, for all he's trying to destroy the Marvel Universe, is actually killing it on Archie. But if I were to pinpoint the greatest time for Archie Andrews and the crew, it's the 50s. So anyway, gang, there you go. That's the countdown. What do you think? Is there something I put on the list that you don't agree with? Is there something that you're like, hey, wait a second. In the 1950s, you had this book. Why are you not including it? And trust me, I'm going to come back to the 50s at some point in time. I'm doing the rounds. It's a lot of fun. I love these lists, by the way. But yeah, put all that stuff in the comment section. Please leave a comment and click like. That helps the algorithm. And if you feel this video is good, please share it around. And don't forget to hit subscription if you haven't done that already. And make sure that your notifications are on for YouTube and click that notification bell because that's what YouTube really cares about when they care at all. Also, if you don't mind supporting the channel, go on over to Patreon or to Ko-Fi, drop $1 in the till. The link's in the description below. And don't forget, you could commission a video now. One of these lists maybe. Or a comic book origins, or anything that you want. Just go on over and to Ko-Fi. The link's in the description below. Do that. I've done some really cool videos, and I've got a couple more coming up that I would never have thought of. So I really do enjoy that kind of thing. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.